It was a December of 1971. 15 days. That's how long it took for our military to defeat Pakistan. Pakistan had just suffered its most embarrassing defeat. A strategic brilliance by the late and legendary Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw had left Pakistan so insulted in the World Forum that they really didn't have a future chance of fighting a conventional war with India. The Sukhoi 7s, MiG-21s and the fallen Nats had achieved air superiority for our military, but 10 years later these same aircrafts, especially the Su-7, was about to be retired because of its variable swing configuration, where aircraft frame attrition is considerably more than a fixed wing aircraft and then a fixed wing non-variable swing aircraft, and fallen Nats were obsolete as well. The world had moved on to the F-15s and the Su-27s, and the Indian government and the Air Force and our military as a whole had realized that we needed a new aircraft. And so in order to, in future, in the late 2000, to replace the MiG-21 would have become obsolete by then, a program was created. GOI in 1983, with a cost of 560 crores, created the LCA, the Light Combat Aircraft Program, affectionately called the TEJAS. The program had to be completed in two stages, the FSED-1 and FSED-2, the full-scale engineering development phases 1 and 2. Now, the first phase was to be completed when the aircraft would take their first flight, and its basic aerodynamic capabilities and basic controls had to be evaluated. Then the other phase is the FSED-2, where all the advanced systems like the multimode radar, the radar warning receivers, the digital engine management system, and other fly-by-wire technologies and other advanced technologies had to be integrated into the aircraft. Now, weirdly, the FSED-1 wasn't even completed when DRDO suggested that FSED-2 had to start. DRDO in this case was asked why by the CAG of India. They said that it was to accelerate the program, but as you and I both know that fast pace is not a word we use when we mention the TEJAS program. And then there was other things that were quite a mess in the program. Instead of being completed in the late 2000s, it took about 35 years for it to be completed. 2015 was the first aircraft when it was inducted into the Air Force. In this capacity, parallel, the MiG-21 had to be upgraded literally 1,000 times for creating the most updated MiG-21 there is in the world, but it's still a MiG-21 with a dismal turn rate and a number of squadrons of Su-30s had to be acquired, which I must say are great aircrafts, but still creation of the Tejas would have avoided these things. Then there were other problems like the IAF changing their initial operational configurations, I know 10-15 times over through the program. There were other critiques of the program by the CAG in 1989 and other reports all through the stages of the development of the program. Now you would think that this program is a failure because it has exceeded its deadlines by even by half a decade or so in some cases. But that is not so, because people forget one thing, and that is context. See, when the TEJAS program was initiated or created, India was going through a tough time. Punjab was burning. A year later, due to those events and the events preceding, our Prime Minister was assassinated, Ms. Indira Gandhi. And then political instability ensued, and after that it was 1991 where we had funds for about 15 days, and if it wasn't for the Honorable Manmohan Singh, who basically liberalized the economy, a socialist economy, and saved us, it was a mess. There was the Sri Lanka fiasco, there were other insurgent movements, if you consider that our army was involved in Kashmir. There was the Kashmir, which is still ongoing, and so the military thought that counterinsurgency is the future of warfare, and they basically, the IF had to take a back seat because army thought that we didn't need an indigenous aircraft, and air forces needs could be completed by aircrafts of foreign origins, and that was a consent, that was an unofficial consensus in most cases. The other problems of the program were acquiring materials was hard because in parallel the nuclear program and the guided missile program that were going on, and we were about to test in the mid 90s. We were creating our nuclear program, and we had already all the components of the fusion bomb, and in 1998 we finally tested our nuclear bomb. Due to that, there were financial sanctions on various materials and various advanced tech. This further created problems for our program. Even before that, in 1989, there was a mysterious fire in the semiconductor laboratories in Mohali, where we were about on the verge of becoming leaders in semiconductor fabrication and production. And it was very unfortunate because during the initial phase of the LCA TEJAS, the feasibility study, the SEL had assured the DRDO HL and the ADA that will have the capability in mid 90s to create advanced jets, but due to that fire we were slung back 30 years. There was nothing left. And then there are the obvious elephant in the room, the bureaucrats. See, unlike the ISRO and the Atomic Commission of India, with a chairman who are professionals who have been promoted to those posts by their work ethic and their brilliance, unlike, and they are secretaries to their particular departments with signatory powers, unlike those organizations, the ADA, DRDO, and HAL are a bureaucratic mess. The DRDO chairman has to go through 10 loops even to approve very simple things. He has to approve funds from the Ministry of Finance. He has to approve configuration details from the military, and everything becomes so complicated because of the nature of being the Republic of India. We have this entangled process of bureaucracy that has its hands deep into the TEJAS program. Instead of scientists and engineers handling the at least the prototype aspect of the operation, even those operations have to be sanctioned and approved by bureaucrats who might even not know the first thing about an aircraft. And that is the mess that these organizations have to go through. And then there is the reluctance of the Indian government all through time. In 1991, because of economic constraints and even other factors, the government almost tried to cancel the Tejas program. Now, famously, and it is rumored that the late Ratan Tata actually stormed into the defense secretary's office and he said it's an outstanding program, and if the government abandons this, I myself will take it under my wing and complete it. He said that his belief in the program and his belief in India's technological capability was what turned the government's decision on cancelling the program. So it was not cancelled. And there are other plethora of reasons that just marred this great program that we had. There was the priority things because the nuclear and guided missile programs were deemed more important for the national security, and of course they were at that time more important because our neighborhood, the Chinese and the Pakistani, didn't really have that good of air forces at those times. China only started modernizing their air force seriously in the late 2000s, and that when the military brass realized that if we don't prioritize Tejas, we will be in big trouble. But despite all those things, Tejas is not a failure. It's far from it. Tejas's airframe is made from composite materials that are made by us. The National Aeronautics Laboratory, a sub-laboratory of the DRDO, made them themselves, and that creates an aircraft that has 20%, 25% weight reduction and 20% cost reduction. The wing of the Tejas is the lightest wing in the world. So despite all these things, our scientists and engineers, they they put themselves through everything, worked hard and created an aircraft that is a 4.5 generation aircraft. No other third world country is creating such an aircraft as of now, but we have, and it's despite all the reasons I enumerated. But the most important thing about the program and what it has achieved, at it has humbled the bureaucracy and the political class of our country. There were times in our history that there were people who re- didn't really want the program to be completed, but Tejas, the existence of it is a stark reminder that if our scientific minds and our engineers and our researchers are given a good administrative independence and financial independence, what they can achieve. And perhaps that's the victory and the most amazing victory that the Tejas has achieved. And so, if in the future we start improving things that I have enumerated, Tejas Mark II will be even a greater success. Yes, we cannot produce 80 to 100 aircrafts like China, we're still on 15 to 20, but still, it is a great triumph. I think the government should learn from it and learn from the Atomic Commission of India and ISRO, and maybe implement more talent acquisition programs in our own universities to plug the brain drain and research and recruitment programs in universities and other institutions, so we can have talent that could be put into the DRDO and HAL while reducing the red tape. So that's Tejas for you. And before you, anytime anyone tells you that Tejas is a failure or so and so, Tejas is not. It has a great turn rate of 15 to 16 degrees at 8G, and that is comparable to an F-16 in a dogfight. Now, F-16 is not the most advanced aircraft, but still it has the best turn rates, one of the best turn rates in the world. So think for yourself and how Tejas has created such great things despite all the limitations the program had. And hope you like the video. Subscribe, like, and comment, and please hit that notification bell. We go through a lot of research before doing these videos, so uh, uh, we can come to you with a perspective that is unique. And thank you, and bye bye.